evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Thursday Night Sports Exchange. We have the Dream Team. Yes, we do have our Dream Team version anyways. And over the next 45, 50 minutes or so, we're going to have a lot of great, interesting topics. I'll even like to throw one in there that most people don't even expect to keep it interesting because there are the popular, trendy ones, then the off-the-wall ones. And as my mentors have told me, it doesn't hurt to be different, as JB Ellis found out last night when I brought up pro fishermen, right, Jeremy? What was the reaction of JB Ellis when I brought up pro fishermen?
Fishing isn't a sport because that's what I do to relax.
Yeah, right. And we brought up former Chicago Blackhawk Dustin Bufflin there on it, and he's just like, all right, whatever. You want to talk baseball? You have your parting shot. Do it then. But, you're the new journalist, so you want to think that way anyways, okay? You have to be different, and that's what I like to do. You guys know me, and Leghorns only know me forever. With that said, let me go ahead and introduce the crew right to left. Smoking Jeremy B. Welcome back. Yeah, okay, Jeremy, did you lose your voice, or are you muted?
Unmute yourself.
Good to be here.
Okay, I didn't know whether you lost your voice at crunch time, but okay. Yeah, okay. Are you messing with me now?
Yes.
Okay. Just like the guy's Instagram account got hacked today, and I didn't know if I was really talking to him or an imposter. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Rick,
I responded to the message pretty quick for you.
Oh, yeah, I know you did. You're good about that. And Rick Curdy, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
And what can I say? Chris Pirtle, the man has asserted himself as a regular. He's going to be working overtime the next few weeks. We're going to keep him really, really busy, right, Mr. Pirtle? Can you handle it?
I can handle it. And I love it. Good to be with you guys tonight.
And last but not least, GE for George Icor, not General Electric. Since I use General Electric, I do deserve a residual for that comment. Go ahead. Right, George?
Welcome. Good to be on again. Good to see all you guys.
All right, well, let me give everybody an overview of what the broadcast is like tonight. Four of us are going to get our report cards here, and one will want to think he's getting his report card about how we fared last week for the Final Four. I'm going to talk a little Dallas Mavericks and a guy by the name of Joey Chestnut, Miami Marlins. I know it's not your sport, baseball, or maybe it is a little bit, and then we have a little bit of New England stuff along with parting shots. With that said, all night I'm going to go right to left, and even though you didn't predict anything, Jeremy, what do you think of the outcome with Connecticut winning it all?
I thought they would. I mean, when they got to the Final Four, they were just blowing people out the whole tournament, and they just kept it up.
Okay. Well, Rick Curdy, you went into it, and my heart's with you, and you probably made some friends out in Boca Raton, but FAU came pretty close, but they were about a second away from playing on Monday night.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaking loss. They lost by 1 point, game-winning shot. But they had a great year. First time they ever been to the Final Four. Huge underdogs. That was a great game. I think it was better. It was better than the championship game. That was pretty one-sided. But the FAU San Diego State game, that was a classic.
Oh, come on. San Diego State made it a game for 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Well, the reality is Dusty May is staying at least one more year. So, Chris, you opted to go with the Miami Hurricanes, and they had been beating a lot of teams pretty convincingly, but unfortunately they were on the wrong end of the convincing part of the whole thing on Monday night.
Well, Scott, just a correction. It's Boca Raton. You Northerners come down here to our state and start renaming our cities, and before you know it, nobody knows the name and how to say the name of the city anymore. But anyway, I'm just joking with you, Scott.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah. Connecticut, well, you're not the first person to make that mistake. Don't worry. Connecticut, I mean, this is impressive, guys. 5 championships in the last 24 years. We talked earlier about how the Big Ten is able to produce 1 championship in the last 20, 30 years, basically. But it's an incredible story because this is the 3rd consecutive coach now at UConn to win a title. I mean, where does that happen? It doesn't happen. Very rarely do you get back-to-back champions like they got at Kentucky when they had Tubby Smith and Rick Pitino that went back-to-back. Could have been 3 in a row for Kentucky, but Billy Gillispie got hired before John Calipari. But it's an incredible story, Scott. Some people ask, is Connecticut a blue blood? My answer is this. Connecticut is the blue blood. Nobody has 5 championships in the past 24 years. Not only are they a blue blood, they are the blue blood.
Well, you know, Chris, I have to tell you, yeah, I guess I messed up on the Boca name, but when I came down here, I used to say Okeechobee instead of Okeechobee. I learned that one too. So all these little Indian names and all this stuff they throw at me, you know, I took voice improvement phonetics and I was learning to pronounce the way it was, but sometimes you just have to own up to the fact that you're wrong when you mispronounce a name. As long as I'm not doing it with play-by-play, I'm not worried about it because you get opportunities to fix it when you're in the city. But, you know, when you're on live TV, you don't get an opportunity, you know, more than 1 or 2 times. But Okeechobee is what I call it. So the locals said, not quite that. And they gave me the correct version and I got that right. So
I make the same mistakes with certain cities in Michigan. So it happens.
Well, I'm not very good in the Wisconsin area because a lot of them are Indian names. So I don't mess around with that. My other half certainly.
I mess up on all the Hawaiian names, so I guess it makes it good.
Well, everybody messes up on them. Don't feel too bad. I mean, Maui, I can get right. Whatever. All right, George Eichhorn, you opted to go San Diego State.
See, this is where I'd like to rewind the tape. You asked us which coach that we would like to be pulling for. I didn't say that they were going to win it all. I pulled for Brian Dutcher. Okay, he got into the final 2, but I thought I said that UConn was going to win it all when we went around the table.
Didn't, and I wrote it down.
Oh gosh.
No, you didn't. What are you trying to go out there and do? Pretend that you're Aaron Rodgers and waffling like, or you're not getting away with it with me. No way. I mean, I know you're
not buying it.
Come on.
Yeah, I got another Aaron
Karen
Rodgers
said he'd play
waffling
for the Jets. He just doesn't know if he's going to retire yet.
Yeah,
Well,
but the point
either
is
way,
hold it, George. We have it on record that you went out there and went San Diego State. It's not bad. At least they got to the final game. So
yeah,
at least you were half wrong instead of quarter wrong. So
yeah.
And of
course,
course,
in my heart, I wanted them, but I knew that UConn was much more talented, obviously.
Well,
but,
good.
Hats off to Brian Dutcher. Hats off to Steve Fisher's son, who made the courageous trip there,
markfisher,
despite his medical condition. And what a great story they are, San Diego State, to get even to the Final 4 and Final 2.
Well, markfisher, obviously, if people don't know by now, he's suffering from ALS, otherwise known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And, of all the diseases that we try to see if we can find a cure, it's just
I suffer from CRS.
What's that?
Can't remember.
Syndrome? Well, okay. I mean, that's what I have. As Chris Pirtle seems to assert himself and gets comfortable with me, I knew he was going to pick me apart when I opted to go Connecticut. But, like Jeremy said, they're winning by double digits all the time, and they've never lost a final game in the state of Texas. So, I had to go with the percentages there, and I did. So before I go any further, I want to let everybody know that the Sports Exchange / the audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share. Okay. We always encourage feedback. The broadcast, want to be a guest? No problem. Send topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to advertise, okay, call me at 954-304-4941. And we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you want to know why we really don't mind bringing on new people, who's the other guy that we're bringing on in 2 weeks?
Keegan Eckert, and who is one of my fans that comments on my show and is also from the Motor City Kneecap Biters Facebook page. And then Will Rock, who has his own podcast.
Right. So Keegan, when I return back in a couple of weeks doing this show on Wednesday night, the plan is to go ahead and bring on Keegan Eckert. He went out there and subscribed on the spot. And I told him on live that he's coming back on. And I'm sure he's probably looking forward to it. But hey, hopefully he'll be able to spread the word. But what I'm saying is that everybody has an opportunity to come on. Just come out there and participate, and boom, that's how easy it is. I'm a man of my word, as George Eichhorn taught me 43 years ago. So with that said, I went with Connecticut. To me, it was obvious. that number one, they were winning by double digits in Texas. So and all four of us had different teams, so one of us was going to get it right. It just so happens I did this time. But if you're looking for prognosticator advice, don't come to me. I don't want to be blamed for anybody losing money. I got a better that I can kick around on Monday night that I'll do it, but none of us. All we do is talk it all. All right, let's go on to the next subject. Dallas Mavericks are 9-16 since the Kyrieirving trade and 5-11 when lucadoncic plays together with them. The Mavericks are 38-42 in the Western Conference, but are alive for the play-in tournament. When Irving arrived, they were the 4th overall seed, okay? And Mavs owner Mark Cuban prioritizing Kyrie re-signing and also supports Jason Kidd as coach. Okay, as I said, I'm going to go right to left. Jeremy, any thoughts about this?
Kyrieirving, he wanted to play in Brooklyn with KD and all them. What happened? It failed. It started to fail with LeBron because LeBron was getting tired of his antics. Now he goes over there with a guy that was in the MVP race, and now they can't win games. I see a common denominator here.
Well, the reality is he's toxic, and once he gets his 5-year deal, then he can find excuses not to play, and that's what everybody's talking about, his availability. If it isn't one excuse, it's another. Go ahead, Rick. I know this is a hot topic for you that you'd love to be able to vent. Go ahead. You got it now.
Yeah, Kyrie's cancer. Everywhere he goes, he wears out his welcome. He was a problem with the Cavaliers. He thought he didn't want to play with LeBron. He goes to Boston. They booed him out of there because they didn't want to deal with him anymore. Ran away. Went to Brooklyn. Caused all this toxic with the owners. Wanting his contract not to play back-to-back games. He goes to Dallas, which is stupid. I went on here and said it was a stupid move. They got rid of all these first-round picks to get him. He's a loner. He's going to go to LA and go play with another toxic player. And I'm not surprised by that. I'm actually glad because now people can say what a loser he is because everywhere he goes, he's toxic and he's not this great. He needs other people around him to make him good. And when he doesn't get his way, he starts. And I don't think him and Luka are really getting along. And Mark Cuban has big egg on his face right now. So I'm happy that the Mavericks are failing.
Yeah, well, they can't play defense either, right, Chris Pirtle? What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, well, the reality with Kyrieirving is if he's not injured, he's underachieving. Last year, the Brooklyn Nets get swept in the first round of the Celtics. Irving averages 15 points a game. Right. Just goes to show he was part of the problem and always will be part of the problem and never part of the solution. Had a lucky couple of games against Golden State in 2016 and was able to get that championship. That'll be the height of Kyrieirving's career. Yet all this negativity that we've just said about this guy, somebody still wants to give him a max deal, and that guy's Mark Cuban. It's right. Insane, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Mark Cuban, bear in mind, he let Jalen Brunson get away, and that's probably one of the worst moves I've ever seen. I mean, he had a guy who was a complimentary player, but yet you insulted him by not paying him what his value is, and now the New York Knicks are reaping the benefit of a good player. So, George, where are you going with Kyrie?
No, it's a disaster in Dallas. I mean, a huge disappointment, their record this year. The team is not at all where it should be. And like you said, Scott, they dropped out of the 4 position in the conference and it just been going south ever since. We used to have a player in Detroit called Marvin Bad News Barnes. And, with all due respect to Marvin, I think we could call it Kyrie Bad News Irving. He could take over the title now because he certainly is. He certainly is a poison when he comes to all these teams, like you guys have said.
Yeah, well, what can I tell you? The reality of the whole situation is that's a great comparison.
Don't be surprised Jason Kidd's out of a job. I won't be surprised if they get rid of him. And I'm sure Kyrie will have something to do with it.
It's a shame because Dallas hadn't made it out past the first round since they won the championship in 2011. Jason Kidd finally gets there the first year on the job, not only gets them out of the first round, but gets them all the way to the conference finals. Now they see the teams in the West getting better this year. They felt like they needed to make a move, and they went out and did this when, as Scott said, the reality is the move you probably should have made was keeping Jalen Brunson this offseason. So right now could be a disaster in Dallas. But that being said, they had to take a chance with the rising teams in the West, teams getting better, players that came back from injury. So I like the chance that they took. I just don't think it's going to work.
All right, I want to go to the chat room real quick. This guy's great. I see this guy here, Football Talk with Bo, and he's a really, really big help to me when it comes to sharing our football content. Bo, if you're listening to this and you're hearing it, I want to bring you on the air soon. You are a shrewd football guy, and I'd love to have you on. And if you ever want me on any of your shows, you just contact me through Twitter. There's a lot of people I met on Twitter, but this Bo guy is really super, and I really enjoy sharing it. And he's just, he's really talks about some of the stuff we put out there, Rick. If anybody's on Twitter, connect up with Football Talk with Bo. This guy's a class act. Didn't mean to get off subject, but when I see some of my other buddies on Twitter, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to let them know that we're paying attention to them and that we really are thankful and appreciative of them. And there's always an open invite for you anytime you want to come on, Bo. So contact me on Twitter. Thank you for being on tonight, Bo. So now with that said, of course, well, there you go. There you go. You guys are going to get to know Bo at some point or another. So, Bo, Friday's my loose day where I don't really do a whole lot except do admin stuff and plan ahead. Let's try to put something together pretty soon, especially as we inch closer to the NFL draft. I should put out a programming note before I move on to the next subject, okay? It's a week of the draft. We will not be doing any shows on April the 27th, the draft. So we're going to be stockpiling on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I never really do shows on Friday, but if anybody wants to do one, we probably could, or maybe not. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'll figure out how things go and so forth. But we're going to be stacking the deck with a lot of football stuff during that week and the week after. So I know Jeremy will really, really, really be busy. So you better be writing a lot of stuff because I'm putting it all up there like you always do anyway. So God bless, Bo. Let's talk really, really soon. And thanks for hanging out again tonight. With that said, okay, a subject that Bo doesn't have anything to do with and nobody in their right mind does except me, who probably isn't in his right mind when I introduce this topic, is what do we associate July 4th with? Okay, the 4th of July is right. Well, there's another guy that has a big appetite on the 4th of July. His name is Joey Chestnut. So Joey Chestnut, two Pistons fans eat two, I believe, 11 Coney dogs to raise $25,000 for Forgotten Harvest on behalf of Lineage Logistics to fight food insecurity. So what are your thoughts about this one, Jeremy?
Joey Chestnut, what can you say? The guy's probably eaten more hot dogs in the last 5 competitions than I've eaten in my lifetime.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, and yet he's not obese. I can only imagine what his workout program is, but I still think it's anytime you can eat a lot of hot dogs. Yeah, I know. All right, Jeremy, I get it. Anytime you can eat hot dogs and do it for charity, I'm okay with it, and that's why I decided to put it on tonight's show. What about you, Rick? You can talk about how many dogs or what his intention is, wherever you want to go with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great charity what he's doing. I've seen those contests. They're actually, it's disgusting. They dip them in water and they just shove them in their mouths, and I mean, it's like I want to gag every time. And I hate to be the guy that goes to the bathroom after Joey Chestnut leaves. I mean, I can't even imagine that. But it's impressive what he does, and it's great that he's doing it for charity. So good for him.
Yeah, now I always wonder. I don't think they eat the bun. It's just the dog. Is that correct?
No, it's the whole thing.
No, it's a fully dressed Coney. They have the Coney dog contest, and then they have the hot dog eating contest. If it's a Coney dog, it actually has the Coney, the mustard, the onions, the whole 9 yards.
Nathan sponsors it. They're Nathan dogs.
Oh, are they? All right. So what about the regular hot dog contest? I'm priming you, Chris, for your answer for this. Do they? It's a bun and the dog, but do they put? They don't. I can't imagine they put the other stuff on the ketchup and all that business, right?
No, it's usually just a plain hot dog.
Yeah, and a bun, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's good enough. All right, Chris. I don't know if I whet your appetite. Oh, that's a bad analogy.
Well, as a native Californian like Rick, Rick and I are both from California. He could probably appreciate this. I would like to start a taco eating contest.
Yes.
Because I want to be the Joey Chestnut of eating tacos. I really think I can compete for the championship, Scott. I think I could be the world champion. I want to go with steak tacos, but I need a little bit of refried beans mixed in there. Throw some cheese on there, but no onions. I hate onions, so I can't do the onion thing like Joey Chestnut. But let's go with steak tacos with cheese, a little bit of refried beans mixed in. Let's start our own competition.
Hey, you know what? If you can pull that thing off, you and I got to get together and do a live show. I can only imagine if we can get some sponsors for that one. I'm always open for an opportunity as different as it may be.
You know, Rick, and we can make it happen in Hermosa Beach. That would be the perfect setting.
And I need guacamole and I need sour cream on mine. And mine has to be shrimp tacos. I will throw. Me and Joey Chestnut compete. It will be no contest. I will destroy Joey Chestnut.
Oh, big talk. Big talk.
Destroy him.
Well, then, you know what I suggest that you do, Rick, tomorrow when you always promote the show?
Reach out to him.
Yeah, I would. If you really think you can do it, and make sure that you go out there and mention this show, anything's possible in this day and age.
Contact that 4-letter sport.
Yeah, you'll have a little bit more work to do, Rick, than you normally do when you spread these show all over the place. All right, George. It's happening in your city, so
yeah. Well, that's good. The Forgotten Harvest, if you guys don't know, is a great charity. They take food that's forgotten, food that isn't eaten, and obviously it doesn't have germs or anything on it, and they distribute it to pantries all over Southeast Michigan. They do a terrific job. So they brought him in for a real good cause, let me tell you. And nobody can top Detroit's Coney Islands. We have the best. It's called Lafayette or American Coney Island, downtown Detroit. Best chili on your dog. Chris, I don't know. You should have had one when you were here.
I had a loose burger.
Oh, that's right. You had loose. Yeah. Anyways, Joey, thank you for coming to my city, Detroit, and keep eating away, buddy.
Well, you know, the drawback of living in South Florida is I don't have Big Boy. I don't have Boneyard, and I don't have Coney Islands. There might be a place you run across in Nathan somewhere here, but not quite. You know, I love the weather in southern Florida. I don't miss the snow and ice. I do miss some of the restaurants. I can think of a lot of them, but won't even get into that. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I mean, $25,000, especially with Forgotten Harvest. Why not? I mean, charity's charity, no matter how you get around to doing it, as long as the money goes for its intended purpose. That's why I like to bring these things up once in a while. Why not? In fact, the same story that I got here from the Pistons, I shared it on Twitter, something very different. You know, I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, it's pretty neat. It's a human interest story, and it's different. And as I did with JB Ellis last night when I decided to talk about pro fishermen, I thought, well, he don't have to be subjected to the hot dog deal, but I will be contacting JB and said, if you think you had it interesting with the pro fishermen, at least you didn't have to worry about talking about Joey Chestnut. All right. Well, now back on one of the 4 major sports. Go ahead, Chris. You want to add to that? I'm getting the feeling you want to say something about it.
No, I've just got tacos on my mind. I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's all right. You and
Sounds
Rick
like a great idea.
Rick is showing you how to do this whole technology thing, right? So I have a feeling you have a working relationship. Put it together, you guys. Come on. I'm telling you, I'm challenging you, Pirtle and Curdy, okay, to go out there and put this thing together.
Okay.
I am. Make it happen. We'll go live.
We'll do it.
Okay. All right. Well, on to baseball. You talked about the Miami Marlins earlier. Now we're really going to talk about them. And I kind of like this one here. We're talking about Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara pitches a complete game shutout in under 2 hours. The 2022 Cy Young Award winner led the Marlins to a 1-0 win over the Minnesota Twins Tuesday night. He threw 68 of his 100 pitches for strikes, retired the first 11 batters. A crowd of 10,668 showed up. The game time was 1:57. That might have been the only negative thing was 10,668. Although, Rick, based on what you were mentioning with the Oakland A's, 3,400 and change, at least is 3 times the amount for us.
That's a sellout for the A's.
Yeah, we'll do that later. You might have a parting shot. I'll let you refer to that one. So, Jeremy, what are your thoughts about Sandy Alcantara? This guy here, I've seen him pitch a lot. He's a stud, and Marlins paid him. So,
great pitcher, but like I said, the reason he got to go a full game, 100 pitches for a full game, that's insane. I mean, usually when a pitcher goes a full game, it's 120 plus. But that 100 pitches is now the pitch count where they start talking about pulling a pitcher out of the game because of Tommy John, because of all the shoulder injuries, the wrist injuries, the blisters on their throwing finger. I mean, it gets a little redonkulous, some of the injuries you hear about pitchers having. I got a blister on my pinky toe. I can't kick out right. What the heck?
Well,
but Sandy he did great. You can't say anything about him.
You got to hand it to the new Marlins manager, Skip Schumacher. I mean, he's in his 40s.
There isn't a manager on the planet that would pull a pitcher going into the 9th inning, needing 3 outs and only 21 pitches to do it with. I'm sorry, they won't take him out.
Well, let me tell you, Don Manning used to like to go ahead and stretch his pitchers out. Skip Schumacher's new on the job, but I mean, it's not like he inherited a roster that was gutted. They tried to bring in some reinforcements with some of the players that they got. But Sandy Alcantara, Jazz Chisholm, and I'm hoping to get out to some Marlins game the next few weeks when my load with spring football and football lightens up a little bit. So, let's face it, Rick, you've always been a big proponent of complete games. Assess what Sandy Alcantara did the other night.
It was great. It was like Greg Maddux. I remember when Greg Maddux would throw 80, 90 pitches, complete game, 8 strikeouts, and the game was like an hour and 50 minutes, something like that. And these new rule changes, I know a lot of people hate them, but they had to make the game quicker, so I don't have a problem with it. And it's cut the game down by like an hour. So I think that's going to help baseball, and hopefully it'll bring some younger people back because their attention span is of a mosquito. So that's why they do this stuff. And but like I said, it's great what he's doing. I hate analytics with a passion because I saw baseball players throw 100 some pitches, and you didn't really hear much about all these injuries. And now everyone's always injured. So it's we'll see what he does when he goes past 100 pitches, and see if Skip Schumacher's another Kevin Cash or another Dave Roberts. So hopefully he likes to stretch his pitchers out, but what he did was very, very impressive, especially in today's world right now.
Yeah, Candy Ebling mentioned you actually on last night's Parting Shots, acknowledging Sandy Alcantara. She thought about you because of the hammering that you did with the cash the other day.
No, I despise analytics. I always will hate analytics. You have a bunch of nerds with a bunch of notebooks living in their parents' basement, keeping track of all this stuff. And it's all about the pitcher. Let the pitcher, if you want to pitch, let him pitch.
Yeah, well, like I said, Candy was thinking about you, especially after your Tuesday rant, so that's okay. All right, Chris, Sandy Alcantara, let's face the reality. This guy's a stud.
Big time. I mean, we saw it last season. We saw it the other night. The Marlins last year led the entire major leagues in one-run games. So even though they didn't come close to making the playoffs, a lot of their games were very close. Their pitching staff pitched pretty well. If they had some bats, they could actually be a playoff team. But Sandy leads the staff. He's the ace. He's possibly the best pitcher in baseball. It's impressive. Unfortunately, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs since they won the World Series in 2003. 20 years.
Well, actually, they snapped it.
I was just going to follow up by saying I don't count the COVID year where they only played 60 games and somehow they snuck into the playoffs that year. That was the year the Dodgers somehow won the World Series. I don't count that year, but so
I don't either.
Been a huge drought. You don't count it either. Good.
I'm a Dodger fan. I don't count it. It's a big asterisk to me.
Yeah, the reality is you're probably right, but here's the thing. The record books do, whether we like it or not, because a lot of teams actually ended their postseason droughts that year. And there's perception. The perception is, Chris, you're right. The reality is the record books are going to say they made the postseason. Me, I could go either way.
Participation award.
But as somebody who's followed the team like I have now for 25 years, I know we've been pretty bad, and it's unfortunate because there was that 6-year span where the Marlins won 2 World Series championships. They won more than the Braves did in that 12-year run that they had of winning the division each and every year. And unfortunately, it's been a long drought. Hopefully, they can bring some bats in and get this team back in the playoffs. Because as you've seen, the stadium is beautiful. We see the whole world got to see it a few weeks ago with the World Baseball Classic. I'd love to see some playoff baseball in that same stadium.
Yeah, my only drawback of that stadium is they put it in the wrong place for the Orange Bowl. They should have moved it further north and made it more accessible for Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach instead of putting it in an area where there's not a great deal of development around it. But I'm with you. I'd like to see playoff baseball there for sure. And why not? I mean, don't get me wrong, though, the Orange Bowl historic site did bring a lot of people in excess of 60, 70,000 for football. So it's not like a bad area. And they were obviously, their intent when they were looking to do it was to attract to the Latin audience is what they were doing. And I understand both sides, but it is a beautiful stadium. George, you've seen a lot of great pictures in your day with the Tigers and so forth. And I don't think you've seen a whole lot of Sandy Alcantara, but first, a 2-part question. What are your thoughts of Sandy and who do you compare him to?
Well, my thoughts are that he is a Cy Young winner. He is a stud, like you said. I think Jeremy hit the most important point here, and that was the 100 pitch count. I argued the other night on the baseball show that these guys are not ready to go 7, 8, 9 innings when they're coming out of camp. And obviously that shoot the hell out of my theory, huh? But the overriding factor was that his pitch count was so low. And that's probably one of the main reasons why they wanted to keep him in there, why he wanted to stay in the game, obviously. I don't know who to compare him with. I mean, there's been so many great pitchers. Of course, we've been blessed in Detroit with Scherzer and Verlander.
Porcello.
For a while, Porcello was good in Detroit. And Anibal Sanchez we had. I mean, we were blessed with those great Tiger teams and those great Tiger rotations back in the day. David Price, heck, was even here for a cup of coffee not too long.
Right.
But I really, really like this guy. He is a real stud, like you said, and he's going places. Talk about huge contracts when he's up for renewal again. But I don't see how Miami's probably not going to be able to afford him. They're probably not going to be able to keep him, I don't think. We'll see, though.
Well, they signed him to a recent extension, but
they've done
that now. By the time his value increases, and
if he stays healthy, we know that it's a big if.
Well, that's true. But the reality is, Chris said it best. They got to score some runs. Period. That's it. They got to score runs. Their pitching was never really part of the problem. It's always been part of the solution. Even when they had to send Pablo Lopez from Minnesota, they got that Lou Arenas, whatever his name is, the batting champion. That was a good pickup for him. But we'll see. It's a long season, and we'll see what happens with Skip Schumacher in his opening year. All right, one more topic, then we go to parting shots. All right, well, the New England Patriots are shopping Mac Jones. Bill Belichick wants to shop this guy. Well, Mr. Football, Jeremy, give me your thoughts about Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, the most NFL QB ready in his draft class. The problem is his ceiling was so low, he had to duck coming into the next season, and it showed.
Right.
I mean, he's not going to get much better than he was his first year. As a matter of fact, he regressed. I'd be trying to ship him off too. Who's going to take him? Somebody that needs like a third stringer?
Okay. Is that it?
I think so.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I didn't know whether he's trying to pull a fast one on me again with this. I never know if he's trying to pull a fast one. All right, Rick, give me your thoughts about Mac Jones.
Oh, I totally disagree. I think there'd be a lot of people interested in him. And the ones who regressed were the Patriots. They screwed this guy up, putting Joe, I shouldn't be a head coach anymore, Judge. He's the one that screwed him up. They never gave him they didn't even have an offensive coordinator. He had Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. I mean, seriously? So the ones who failed are the Patriots. This guy could be a good quarterback, and the reason he regressed was because of Bill Belichick. that's why he regressed. I see a lot of teams that could be interested. I can see the Raiders interested in him. I could see maybe the Buccaneers would be interested in him. He's like in his early 20s.
Right.
He's not some 30-year-old, guy. He's in early 20s, and he could still be safe. But the ones who screwed him up are Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
Yeah. Okay, Chris.
Well, I've got to, excuse me, agree with Slick Rick on that. I mean, who the hell hires a defensive coordinator and a special teams coach to run the offense? I mean,
he started out as an offensive line coach. Come on now.
Big deal. Well, all right, Jeremy, but let Chris complete it.
I'm sorry.
Because the reality is, after 13 games of his first year, the Patriots were 9-4. They were sitting number 1 in the AFC at the time. Mac Jones was clearly the best quarterback out of a draft that included Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance, which anybody's ahead of Trey Lance. But the reality is, after 13
I'm ahead
games,
of Trey Lance.
Everyone was in love with Mac Jones. He was on track to win the Rookie of the Year had they been able to complete that season. But they did make it to the playoffs in his rookie year. If you can do that, you've got to have some kind of ability, especially when you consider the fact that the Patriots and Bill Belichick's arrogance will trot out Manny, Mo, and Jack at wide receiver. I mean, their best wide receiver is Nelson Aguilar, who Oakland didn't want, Philadelphia didn't want, and this is his top receiver he's throwing the ball to, and he led that team to 9-4 after the first 13 games of his rookie year. He's got some ability. Like Rick said, the coaches failed him.
George?
Well, yeah, a lot of people say that a quarterback's only as good as his supporting cast. Let's be honest. And like you said, Chris, they did not have the receivers surrounding him. No, I'm not going to give up on this kid. He showed a lot of promise. He has a lot of coachable points still. And again, like you guys said, he was surrounded by a couple of I won't even go down there, but not good coaches in my eyes, especially for the offense in New England. And, I'll be honest with you, Mac Jones could fit in a situation. Bring him into Detroit. We'll have him underneath Jared. We need a backup quarterback in Detroit, but I don't think he's going to be happy being a backup. No way. I mean, the kid is young enough. He wants to be a starter. And I know the Lions probably wouldn't make that kind of trade, but the thing is that give this kid a little bit more time. He's developing, but you need a lot of people around you. You also need a good coaching staff to develop and be a top flight quarterback in the NFL.
Well, I can tell you right now, I've seen so many great quarterbacks ruin when the head coach isn't good, and then the offensive coordinator, and then take it a step further when there's constant turnover at both of those positions. It gets that way. Here's the thing that I'm hearing, okay? Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft aren't getting along that well. And when Tom Brady left, and I've been watching this on Skip and Shannon, that Bill Belichick's an under 500 coach when Tom Brady is not there. So I think you're fine. Will the real Bill Belichick stand up? Yeah, the mediocre one that ended up winning Super Bowls under the former University of Michigan quarterback himself, Tom Brady. I think Bill Belichick needs a little bit of humble pie, and I think Robert Kraft needs to give it to him pretty soon.
I agree with you, Scott. And another follow-up, too, is in his rookie year when he went 9-4 and when he led the Patriots to the playoffs, Josh McDaniels, who is a legitimate offensive coordinator, was the offensive coordinator. And Belichick, in his arrogance, thinks he can bring in a special teams coach and a defensive coordinator to run the offense. I wouldn't be happy with him either if I were Robert Kraft. His arrogance is going to cost him. And you're right, Scott, he's turning into the same Bill Belichick that got fired by the Cleveland Browns.
Absolutely. And, that's it, too. I mean, if you had Bozo and Oopsie the Clown coaching you, then you got a lot of makeup on top of your face. And will the real quarterback come out? Let's see who the identity is under the makeup, because I'm still trying to figure it out yet. I realize my vision's probably about 20/70. I don't drive as much, although I do when I need to. But it doesn't take 20/20 eyesight to figure out that Bill Belichick is becoming the new clown, and the only chance you have to save Mac Jones is with Bill O'Brien. I mean, after all, he did coach him at Alabama. That's the only way you're going to save this guy in New England. And I hope that Robertkraft, gets involved soon enough so another quarterback doesn't get shipped out. Bear in mind, though, I have seen their backup quarterback play here in the Conference USA, and Bailey Zappi's a good one, too. I was hoping the Lions would have taken him when he was available, and I know the coaching staff saw him and he was on that team, but the only way to save Mac Jones is give him a fresh start or make sure that he can progress again under Bill O'Brien. But Bill Belichick, whether he's hanging around to break Don Shula's all-time winning record or not, which I believe he is anyhow, we'll just see how much losing that Robertkraft is going to tolerate to even give him that. Because I'd find it hard to believe anybody at the age of 70 would give Belichick another job, although I see crazier things happen.
He's becoming the Greg Popovich of the NFL.
Well, what a great segue. My God. Oh, I can't. Now that you mentioned that, you're doing it again to me, Pirtle. So we're going to go to parting shots. And I have to say this. I got to lead off now because of what you just did. Oh, my God.
He's the George Seifert of the NFL. That's what he's become.
Yeah, no, I'm going to write off a Pirtle about Greg Popovich because now I never go first, but now I will to keep flow going. And my parting shot is I'm really happy that Becky Hammon was selected to the 2023 Hall of Fame class, joining Greg Popovich. The only thing left for Hammon to accomplish is succeeding Popovich when he eventually retires as Spurs head coach. If there's ever a woman capable of coaching men in the NBA, it's Hammon. Hammon was a 6-time WNBA All-Star and is coach of the reigning WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces. Plus, she coached the Spurs Members League team to a title. So there you have it. You talk about an unbelievable segue. Nobody has to comment on it. We don't do that anymore. But you know what? You talk about a great transition. Becky Hammon should be the next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And if there's anyone capable of going out there, a woman capable of doing it, there's no doubt in my mind Becky would be good. And then she would really be great. So, all right. Now, my parting shots. We're going to start off with Jeremy.
All right. Well, I want to talk about the pitch clock. We have seen on an opening day weekend, 70 stolen bases out of 84. Last year, it was 20 out of 49. So you're talking about a jump from 45% up to almost 80% success rate. I think the pitch clock is great, and it has reduced the amount of time that the games are, but I think they need to increase the pitch clock to 40 to 45 seconds to give that pitcher a chance to look a runner back, because 80% of the stolen bases have been going to second base.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Rick, what you got?
Well, this isn't my neck of the woods, but the North Carolina Tar Heels, we talked about Cinderella teams, about teams that overperform. How about they underperform like the Tar Heels? Probably the biggest disappointing college team that we had. Last year, they were surprised. They went to the finals and played a great game against Kansas. They brought everybody back. They were the number one preseason coming in, and they missed it. They did not go in, which is unheard of for the Tar Heels. Even when they're not a good team, they still make the NCAA tournament. But the bad thing that I'm upset with them about is that they got invited to the NIT and they turned it down, which is to me a big black eye to them. And even Tyler Hansbrough, former Tar Heels, came out and criticized them. And to me, that was a bad move too. It kind of made them look like it was not good enough. Like, we're the Tar Heels, we're the Blue Bloods, we're the best. We're not going to go to some NIT tournament with a bunch of losers and stuff. It just makes them look bad. It makes them look petty. It makes them look childish. They should have gone to the NIT. You had a disappointing season. You did not make it. You shouldn't have made it. And you turned down the NIT because it wasn't good enough. Grow up, Tar Heels. And remember, transfer portals are in. And a lot of these players, they're not going to the big universities no more because they know they can win with smaller universities like FAU and San Diego State. So North Carolina, get your act together. You should have made the NIT. And that was, to me, the big disappointment. Not them not making the NCAA tournament, them refusing to go to the NIT.
Very good, Rick. I like that one. I like that. And speaking of which, okay, Jeremy, Here we go. Our buddy Rocked On Podcast Media Group. Oh, there's your buddy there.
That's Will Rock. Hey, Will Rock. Glad to see you watching. Thank you.
Yeah, it won't be long before you're on one of these too. So thanks for tuning in. Okay. So go ahead, Chris. That was a good one by Rick. I think the one thing you do though is by not going to the NIT, that you don't let your players play an extra game so they can play against competition, and it's all about reps so they can be looked at. That's one thing I would add to what you did, Rick. But you're right there. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, in my parting shots tonight, I'd like to send out a desperate SOS to both the Big Ten and Pac-12 conferences. As I think about the national championships won by these conferences, I can't help but worry, are they even going to continue to be able to exist? Are we just going to see one power conference, or is everybody just going to join the SEC no matter what part of the country they're in? I know we've got UCLA and USC coming to the Big Ten in the future, but the reality is that conference has only produced 3 national championships in the last 20 years in both football and basketball combined. Just 3. And that's going back actually 23 years. We got to go back and dig up that championship that Michigan State had in basketball. The Buckeyes have produced 2 in football in that time frame. And that's it. That's it. Yeah. The powerhouses like Iowa and Purdue and Michigan, they're not getting anything done. Pac-12, only 1 national championship in both football and basketball in the last 20 years. I mean, the University of Florida won 4 national titles in 06 through 09 in football and basketball combined. So, again, I just want to send out a desperate SOS to these conferences and say, guys, can you start winning some championships before you no longer exist?
Yeah, I'd actually like to see what the Pac-12 is going to look like, and knowing that I believe the Big Ten is going to go in there and snap up another 1 or 2 teams from the West Coast to try to help out USC and UCLA. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that when we get more info. All right, Eichhorn, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to salute our captain here in Detroit, Dylan Larkin. Congratulations. 78 points this year, 32 goals, 46 assists. By far your best production. I've always been on your case. You have not been scoring goals like you should. And Dylan, you're doing a great job. Stevie Yzerman extended your contract, very lucrative contract, and you didn't let it go to your head. You kept leading this club, and this Red Wing team is scrappy. They don't give a damn about where they are in the draft order right now. They're playing for points, and they've knocked off some damn good teams lately. Last count, they were tied with Buffalo 4-4 this game tonight. But Dylan Larkin, University of Michigan product from Waterford, Michigan, hometown boy, he has made good, and he has earned that C that he proudly wears on his chest as the Red Wings captain. Congratulations, Dylan.
Well, I'm glad we have some new blood in the chat room. Football talk with Bo, my buddy, and of course now Will Rock, and we're going to be seeing them on too. So I'm looking forward to bringing them on. With that said, okay, you have a fan there. Chris Big Ten is really right now. Agree on that. So you fall into the GMTA thing when it comes to Will Rock. Great minds think alike. I got to get that out there. One time I even mentioned it to Dave Barnett earlier this week, the former ESPN broadcaster. Don't know if he picked up on it, not really worried about it, but whether he liked being on the show or not, at least he learned that much anyway. So
GMTA.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to go over a couple of things here, then we're going to let everybody let people know where they're going to find out. Well, good show tonight. We had a lot of interesting topics here, and we've had to go there. So with that said, the audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. So there you go. So if you want to go ahead and listen to it, no problem. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share. I'm trying to go a little slow this time. The broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Bring anybody on there if you've got a good idea, but send those topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise, call me at 954-304-4941. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So also kudos to Candy Ebling, who does a remarkable job putting these shows up as well as the content. She's unbelievable. And also check out our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. I can be found on Twitter at Tribune South. With that said, we're going to go right to left again. Let everybody know how they get a hold of us. Icorn has a book, and then we'll be out. So go ahead, Jeremy.
Unmute.
I had to cough earlier. Sorry.
That's all right. We got a newbie here. All right. Well, hey, Greg Rice, how you
Greg,
doing? you want to come on the broadcast sometime? Subscribe to the channel, and I'll work it out.
He's another Lions fan.
All right, we'll bring on the Lions. We can go out there and have a lot of Fire Up Michigan shows, and they'll be staying in line. Greg Rice, you want a ticket to the broadcast? Subscribe to South Florida Tribune, and you'll be on. We'll probably most likely put you on a Monday night. Now with all of Jeremy's people, that's going to be the right place to put it. But as far as Eckert, he's going to be on Wednesday. So subscribe, Greg. Let us know that you did it. And then Jeremy and I will go out there and go from there. Subscribe, guys. Earned himself a ticket on the broadcast. Good stuff, Greg. Okay, so
Greg is a great guy.
Well,
he's out there in Malibu, right?
I don't know, George. We're gonna be busy on Fire Up Michigan.
Yeah,
with all of Jeremy's people popping in here. All right, Jeremy, get it out there, and right. Greg, I'll go through Jeremy. We'll arrange a Monday night for you. See, Chris, this is getting interesting now. This platform is getting more and more and more. So that's what we got to do. It's called positive reinforcement. Put them on there. I'll bring you all on. I don't care. Good stuff, Greg. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So you can find me on Scott's page there, the South Florida Tribune, where underneath the three hash setting, you can find the Motor City Tribune, where I'm in the list of authors. I'm also a consultant for Scott. You can also find me on Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B, my YouTube channel. You can find me on Scott's YouTube channel. We do shows Mondays, Wednesdays, sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays. I do shows on Wednesdays and Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, sometimes Sundays. Who knows? But you can find me and George usually with Scott anytime.
Yeah, I'll tell you, with supply and demand, I won't tell anybody they got to commit to a Friday, but every once in a while, with the way people are showing up, I'd consider one once in a while. Why not? I don't care. It's only time anyways. Date night can wait a little bit later just to get everybody on, but we'll see how things go. All right, Rick, go ahead.
You can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. Please go on there. Sign a petition to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And my email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Very good. All right, Chris.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Vero Sports. You can also find me on Facebook. And if you do, make sure you compliment me appropriately on my new tan. I'm fresh off the beach today. I spent about 3 hours out on Jack's Beach today. Hopefully the tan is showing. And if you're unable to reach me on those two platforms I gave you, just reach out to Smoking Jeremy B. He's got my cell number, and he can get you in touch with me.
Look at this. We're building a nice family here. Look at this. I love it. All right, Icorn.
I never thought I'd be on the air with a guy bragging about his tan lines.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, George, you're up in Michigan. Nobody brags about their tan lines unless they're in the tanning booth.
I brag about my farmer's tan. I earn it.
Here it is, the floating book cover. Detroit sports broadcasters on the air with Ernie Harwell, Ray Layton, George Kell, and, of course, Bruce Martin and Bud Lynch calling the Red Wing games and stories and photos that you're never going to want to put down. And you can get a copy of my book by the link at Motor City Tribune. I write, as Jeremy mentioned, for Scott's publication, South Florida Tribune, the Motor City Tribune, and the Detroit Monitor as well. And there's a link there. And Scott's in the book with Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. And we really appreciate that. You want to reach me? Get me on Yahoo at gicorn@yahoo.com. Find me on LinkedIn under my name, and also on Twitter at SandGSports99. And look forward to chatting with anybody out there that's got any questions about sports in Detroit.
Well, I want to give special thanks for all the different people we had in the chat room, going from Bo
Absolutely.
and Will Rock and now Greg Rice. So, they're perfect examples that if you go out there and subscribe and you participate here, you're going to come on. And if I think you're good enough, you're going to come on, and I'll create episodes to accommodate every person. I really don't frankly care. I just want good, energetic people on here that can talk about anything. I give you an opportunity to express. There's very little talking over each other here. And I think it's fair to make sure that we distribute the topics evenly so everybody has a fair opportunity to say something about it. So great show tonight. You guys are great. I love having you guys on all the time. We have one more comment in the chat room. And who is that? And you know what? Rock Podcast, thank you very much for the kind words. We appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to bringing you on here in a not so distant future. So meanwhile, good show. So on behalf of Jeremy, Smoking Jeremy B, Rick Curdy, Chris Pirtle, George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan, Route the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you the next time. And we'll are out.